Today, we're diving into a decision in India that has sparked a huge debate over one of the world's most ancient mountain ranges, the Aravalli. And you know, it all boils down to one single critical question.
Seriously? Think about that. How tall does a mountain need to be before we decide it's worth protecting? This one question is at the absolute heart of this conflict. And the answer? Well, it's going to affect a lot more than just rocks. We're talking about the environment, the economy, and the entire future of northern India. Okay, so here's how we're going to tackle this. First up, we'll look at the new government rule that basically started this whole firestorm. Then, we'll get into why the Aravalli Range is so incredibly important. It literally acts as a shield for the region. After that, we'll explore the two very different futures that could happen, hear from the rising voices of protest, and finally, we'll wrap up with a big question about what this all means.
So let's jump right into Section 1, a mountain's new definition. The source material tells us that this entire controversy was kicked off by one single official document, a new government definition that completely redraws the line for what counts as a protected part of the Aravalli.
And here is the 100-meter rule. The government has put a number on it. For a hill to be officially considered part of the protected Aravalli Range, it has to be at least 100 meters tall. It sounds so simple, right? A clean, easy number. But the implications, oh, they are absolutely massive.
And this is what it really comes down to. This slide just lays it out in black and white. If a hill is 100 meters tall, it gets protected status. But if it's even 1 meter shorter, say 99 meters, it can now be opened up for mining. It's a simple line in the sand that creates this enormous divide, with huge environmental consequences hanging in the balance.
So, why does this 100-meter line matter so much? Well, that brings us to Section 2, Aravalli, North India's shield. To really get what's at stake here, you have to understand the incredible role this mountain range plays, which the source describes in some really powerful ways. Yeah, people aren't just talking about these as mountains. They're calling them a lifeline. The source even uses this beautiful metaphor of a mother's embrace to describe the sense of protection and nurturing the range provides. That tells you just how deep the cultural and ecological connection is here.
Okay, one of its most important jobs has to do with the monsoon. Let's break it down. So, picture this. Moisture evaporates from the Bay of Bengal and forms clouds. Winds then push these rain-filled clouds north. But then, bam, they run into the Aravalli Range, which acts like a giant natural wall. That wall forces the clouds up, they cool down, and they have to release all that rain over northern India. If that barrier wasn't there, that whole water cycle would be thrown into chaos.
So you see, the Aravalli isn't a one-trick pony. It's this incredible two-way shield. On one side, it literally catches the monsoon clouds to bring all that essential rain. And from the other side, it blocks these scorching hot desert winds from the northwest, which helps keep the entire region's climate from getting out of control.
Which, of course, leads us to the biggest question in this whole story. What happens without Aravalli? If you start chipping away at this shield, what does the future actually look like? Well, the answer really depends on which of two competing visions you believe in. So on one hand, you've got this view of the Aravalli as a giant treasure chest. It's packed with valuable resources, limestone, marble, granite, you name it. From this purely economic point of view, those hills under 100 meters aren't an ecosystem. They're a source of jobs, materials, and wealth just waiting to be unlocked. And then you have the complete opposite view, that the Aravalli is a mountain of life. It's not just a pile of rocks to be mined, but a living, breathing system. It's the rain barrier, it's the heat shield, and, as the source calls it, a 24/7 oxygen mine because of all its forests. It is quite literally the foundation for the entire ecosystem. Now, when the stakes are this high, it is absolutely no surprise that the government's new rule has created a serious backlash. And that brings us to Section 4, the rising voices of protest.
The criticism is popping up from all corners of society, including from public figures like the comedian Rajiv Nigam. He put it bluntly. They are finishing the mountains of nature. Shameful. And his comment really captures this widespread feeling of disbelief and outrage.
It's not just artists and comedians either. You've got senior political figures getting involved too. The former Chief Minister of Rajasthan, Ashok Gehlot, actually changed his profile picture to a Save Aravalli image, publicly throwing his weight behind the campaign to protect the whole range, no matter what this new 100-meter rule says.
And listen to this, that lifeline metaphor, it pops up again, here with Congress leader Ritu Chaudhary. She's directly connecting the dots, saying that breaking the Aravallis isn't just mining, it's poisoning the air, drying up the water, and destroying the future.
And finally, this quote from a local writer, Ashwini Soni. Man, it really cuts to the heart of the moral argument. He says, "Those who cannot build a 1-meter mountain have no right to destroy it." And he ends with this absolutely chilling question, asking if the end goal here is to turn the whole country into a gas chamber.
So after all of this, the new rule, the science behind the Aravalli's importance, and the loud social outcry, where does that leave us? Well, that brings us to our final section, a question for the future. The source leaves us with one last thought that looks way beyond this immediate fight.
And this is really the question the source leaves us all with. It reframes the whole thing. It's not just about policy or mining anymore. It's about legacy and responsibility. It's asking every single one of us to think, really think about what our answer will be when future generations look back and ask us, "What did you do?"